In this video, we're going to talk about text. We've got a couple of kinds of text we can put into an AutoCAD drawing. One is single line text, and we also have multi-line text. We'll talk about both of those. We'll also talk about editing text once we put it in, and changing the appearance of text with text styles. Within single line text, we'll talk about the height of the text, the insertion point, its rotation, and also justification. So let's get started. For this one, we want to start a new drawing. So I'm going to go to File and New and pick Imperial, so we're both on the same page as far as sizes go. I'll say OK to this. In this drawing, we've already established the fact that we want to use different layers for different types of objects, or different things. So in this case, we want to create a new layer. So I'll go to the Layer dialog box here. In the Layer dialog box, I can click on New Layer and then type in a new layer, in this case, say text. I can change the color so it appears different than anything else in the drawing, although there's nothing in the drawing just yet. And I'll make it the current layer so that any text I put in will go on the text layer by default. In order to put text in our ribbon, over here to the right of the layers area is the text layer, or text area rather. And if we use the little button below the letter A where it says text, we have both multi-line and single line text. We'll start out with single line text first. When I start out with single line text, you can see on the command line that it says text, current text style equals standard, text height equals 0.2, annotative equals no, and it asks us now to specify the start point of the text, or I could set the justify or style options. In this case, I'm just going to pick a point, which is our start point for the text. On the command line, it asks for the text height to specify the height, and it says 0.2 is the default, so I'll just hit enter. It says the rotation angle is 0. Again, I'll hit enter, and it takes a second, and on the screen I have a blinking cursor, and it's waiting for me to enter text. Let's say that I put in my name. If I type in Mike and Churchill and hit enter, it allows me to put another line of text in. So I could put in AutoCAD, say I put in my AutoCAD instructor and at OCC at Auburn Hills. Every time I hit enter, it goes to a new line. If I hit enter twice in a row, it finishes the command. So you have to hit enter twice. Let me roll my wheel in to zoom in on this a little bit. You can see that the text that I typed in is here. As I go to select one of these, if I pick one without being in any command at all, you'll see that it doesn't show one letter at a time or the entire paragraph or one word. It does one line of text at a time. If I were to use something like the move command, I could click on move, pick one hunk of text, pick a start point and a finish point, and it moved that line as though it were one object, which is what it is. So if I zoom out a little bit and pan over, just by holding down the wheel, rolling it a little bit, I can put some more text in. So if I said text again, let's say I wanted to use single line text again, and I wanted the text to be twice as tall as the last one. I still pick a point. When it says specify the height, I could type in 0.4 for the height instead of 0.2. For a rotation angle, what if I wanted it for whatever reason to be at 45 degrees? I could either type that in or drag my cursor until it shows 45 degrees with the polar next to the cursor. Then when it asks for the text, if I said type in this text is at 45 degrees, enter, and 0.4 in height. Again, when I hit enter and enter again, the text is finished. Zoom out a little bit, and you can see that it's twice as big and at a 45 degree angle as opposed to the 0, which would be horizontal. Next time you go to put text in, it remembers the last setting. So if I say text again, single line text, and pick a start point, it remembers the 0.4. If I want to go back to 0.2, I'd have to type that in at the command line. It remembers the angle. Again, I could type in 0 to go back, and then type in any amount of gobbledygook just to see what happens. When I finally hit enter, we're done. If I decide I want to change the text in some way, if I double click on a line of text, let's say I wanted to put my middle initial in, I could double click on the name on the text. If I zoom in a little bit, and then if it's all highlighted, if I typed anything, it would wipe everything out, just like it does in Word or whatever. If I pick the spot that I want to put something and then type something in, you can change the text as it is, hit enter, and enter again, and you're done editing. So that changes the content of the text. Now we put text in, we've seen that we can change the height, change the rotation angle, and edit, and that each line of text is a thing on its own. Let's talk about justification now. You see that when we put the text in earlier, let me undo a couple of steps here to go back where we were. The text all lined up along the left-hand edge. That's the default justification. Justification refers to where does it line up. If I went back to text again, single line text, on the command line one of the choices is justify. If I right-click and say justify, it gives me a long list of possible justifications. And if you need to know what all of these mean, you can look up single line text or text in help, and it'll explain each and every one of them. We'll just do a few here. Let's say that I wanted my text to be lined up along the right-hand side instead of the left. Then I could right-click and pick right from the shortcut menu. Now it says on the command line to specify the right endpoint of the text baseline. So let's say I pick over here on the right-hand side, hit enter for the height, hit enter for the rotation angle. As I go to type text in and hit enter and type some more, you can see that it's lined up along the right-hand edge now. When I hit enter and enter again, you can see that it's lined up along the right. Again, if I wanted to edit something, I could double click on it, come in here and put the apostrophe in that I missed, and it's lined up along the right-hand side. Another justification is center justified. I could go to text, single line, right-click, justify, right-click again, and say center justified. Now when I pick a point, I'll pick one just underneath this J, just so we remember where my point was. And I'll again pick a 0.2 height or 0 rotation angle and say this is center justified. So I picked a point, again, right below that J. So this is where I picked my first point of the first line of text. And after I got done putting all the text in, it's all lined up along that point. So this is center justified text. So we have the default, which is left. We have right. We have center. There's another one called middle justified text. Let's say that I drew a small rectangle, and I wanted to put some text inside of it. Later on, when we do a title block, would be kind of handy. If I had a line that went from corner to corner diagonally just to give me a midpoint where I want my text, let me zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to turn the caps lock key on so that all of my text comes in capital letters. And I'm going to say text, single line text, right click, justify, right click, and this time I'm going to say middle. If I pick the midpoint of that, I'll just type in mid and hit enter and do the midpoint of that line, and let's say I make it a little taller. I'll make it 0.3 in height, same rotation angle, and then type in test, enter, enter. So now when I picked that middle point, it didn't bring that to the lower left-hand corner like left justified text. Middle justified or center justified text would have had the bottom center of it right here. With middle, it's both horizontally and vertically justified in that same spot. So now if I erase that line, the text is inside there. If I double clicked and made it shorter, let's say I made this ABC and hit enter, it's still justified inside of it. Same thing could be true if I had a small circle and I had to put a piece of text inside there. Again, I could go text, single line, right click, justify, right click, middle, and pick the center of that circle, same height, and type in the letter B, enter, enter, and it's centered inside in the middle of the circle. So that's kind of handy. Another thing that we need to change is the appearance of the text itself. You can see that it's pretty blocky, it's not very attractive. The thing that we change in order to have our text appear the way we want is something called style. I can go to Format, same place we worked with units before. We also have something called Text Style. In Text Style, it gives us a dialog box with a number of different things we could change. The main thing we change in this one is just the font. If I change the font that's associated with the style called Standard, which is what was in place when we started, all text I put in will have that font. So if I use Arial in the style called Standard, I then say apply and cancel, or apply and then close, and it closes the dialog box. Before it does that, it shows us that we have a preview of the Arial font. When I say apply and then close, all of the text I've already put in takes on that font, because it was all done in the style called Standard.